tiny houses are often more expensive per square foot than standard homes?
I didn't either up until 4 minutes ago. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jade Sims. This is episode 2 of creating tiny town sims. And apparently tiny homes can cost around $400 per square foot, whereas standard homes cost $150 per square foot. Crazy, I know. This sim that we're creating, Van Sloan, has a trendy / Pinterest aesthetic, the skill of photography, and the color blue. His traits are art lover, vegetarian, and skeptic. And his aspiration is a city life aspiration. This creative sim was marked by hardships. I had so much difficulty just deciding what categories I wanted to fit him into, what kind of storyline I wanted to curate for him, what best suited this sim. It was all a struggle. Let's first start off with his personality. To illustrate the vibe I had in my head, let me just say I think he resided in a city before he moved to tiny town to create his own house. He's one of those artsy fartsy people, but he's kind of snobby about it. If I could give him a fourth trait, it would definitely be snob. He's kind of self-important and particular about the content that he consumes. I feel like he'd admonish like cartoons. He'd be into the fancy stuff. I think him being from a city is kind of part of his personality, but don't tell anyone he wasn't born or raised in a city. He kind of is a transplant. Since you can picture his vibe now, let's begin to discuss the meta of it all. The difficulty I had creating the sim Van Sloan. His personality and look went through a lot of revisions. In the first iteration of Van Sloan, he didn't even have that name before, he was originally supposed to be a vintage sim who also worked as a writer, a freelance writer. He would write mystery books and develop a lot of claim for his writing. Though that idea was quickly scrapped as I couldn't really imagine Van Sloan with his face completed to be a writer. You know, sometimes you can tell, or sometimes the sims tell you what kind of life they want. I know I sound crazy, but I just didn't see that in the picture for him. Instead, with the vibe I had just explained to you, I decided that photography would be best suited for him and a trendy look would suit his features more. But in order for me to achieve the look I had in my head, I had to go CC shopping first. So I sought Seoul, as in the Korean city. Their CC greatly helped me get started. There's this one particular piece, this layered jacket with a bag on the top. That top became a part of his everyday outfit, and from then on, I kind of made up the story as I went, trying to match that same aesthetic for the rest of his outfits. That in itself was a venture. Because the thing about a trendy or Pinterest style is that it's not clearly defined. You just have to go off of popular silhouettes, popular clothing items. Luckily for me, men's fashion does not expire as quickly as women's fashion trends do. What I've gathered from various video essays and TikToks is that a baggy silhouette is still in. So baggy pants, baggy tops. Baggy on baggy has been in for the longest, but a new silhouette that's kind of popping up are long baggy pants with a cropped-ish top. Now, cropped for men is not as daring as it is for women. You know, sometimes cropped is kind of pushing it for women. You know, it's like, is it even a top at that point? But no, for men, it's kind of like waist length, which is nothing for women, you know? And in Van Sloan's first outfit, his everyday outfit, the jacket is slightly cropped because I would imagine that jacket like 10 years ago would be way longer, or at least to his hip. In this 2025 style, it is slightly cropped, at least in comparison. His primary color is blue, but I supplemented that with a tannish color to kind of offset it because I realized there are a lot of different blues that don't mesh together without it looking too unrealistic. Like I wanted to make it look like blue was his favorite color, but not overtly so, you know? He definitely has blue in the largest clothing articles, if that makes sense. For instance, his pants are often blue because that's like the largest piece of clothing that he has on, so it's like most notable on him. But in his everyday outfit, I paired it with jeans, which jeans made this whole idea very easy. If I didn't have jeans, I don't even know. Pairing blue trousers with a blue top, it's so difficult. His outfits, for me, I wanted to be very curated, very intentional because he wants to look good, and you'll know that by the way he dresses. I especially love the siren core glasses that he has on. Do I believe he actually needs glasses, or is it for the fashion? I'm leaning towards the latter. Like, he's a lover of fashion, which is why I originally was going to make him, his primary skill be like the trendy thing that came from high school years. That was his only way of making money, but that could be like a supplemental thing. I do want to make a sim who solely profits off of trendy because I haven't tried that out yet in The Sims 4. Additionally, I was going to make him a writer with the vintage-ish style. I don't know if I've touched on this yet. And his color was going to be green, but I also abandoned that idea once I saw new clothing items that could suit him more. You know, having him being a painter also dawned on me, but I've navigated that entire, like the entire painting aspiration, the entire skill. I think I've seen what I need to see. And the whole point of this challenge for me, at least, is to try out new gameplay. Just explore what the game has to offer. Isolate isolating different skills and packs, it helps me achieve that goal. I know we're way past the stage, but I really want to discuss the new technique I've been trying with skin details. I have coined it as maxifying alpha skins, that technique, in which I first apply or I lay down a very overtly alpha skin overlay, but then on top of that, I would layer a Maxis skin detail that helps smoothen the look of the skin detail and customize it to my style. With this, I'm also adding more individuality to my sim, giving them different characteristics that make them stand out and kind of modifying the skin overlay. To me, it's all a balance. My style, it's a balance between Maxis Match and Alpha, which isn't a really difficult concept to understand, but what I do is sometimes when I notice that my sims are looking too alpha for me, I would pair that with Maxis eyebrows so it all is very harmonious. And with this sim too, nothing is concrete. And even with his name, like I was thinking of changing his name from Van Sloan to something that correlated to his color blue. One of the ideas was Topaz, but I felt like I was veering too close to Deligracy's Barbie Let's Play. One of Barbie's children's named Topaz. And I'm just like, I think too much of him when I hear that name. It's a core memory for me. That doesn't mean I'm not open to any new ideas. So just let me know in the comments down below if you have anything to say. And also if you want to introduce any skills you want me to try, any gameplay ideas, also feel free to put in the comments. Otherwise, you know, it's a free-for-all. Go crazy there. I pray we're on the same wavelength and that you understand what I'm trying to elucidate about the sim. If you can see him in real life, because I certainly can. By the way, I was watching Anora, the new film, on Hulu while I was making the sim. Not that there's any influence, but I just wanted to state that. Maybe I'll like talk more about my feelings in a later video because we're kind of coming close to the end of this video. But my first impressions of the movie are that it was more funny than I thought it would be. I did look away a lot of the nudity, and I'm kind of unsure about Anora's or Annie's accents. It feels slightly like a characterized version of, like, I think they said Brighton Beach, right? That was the New York accent, but it felt like too, I don't know, it didn't feel as realistic as like a real New York accent. New Yorkers can let me know how they feel about it. I don't think I've never been to Brighton Beach, so other than that, I didn't have too many qualms with it, although for me to really dissect a movie, I have to rewatch it a couple of times. First time, especially when I'm like doing something else and I'm multitasking, I will miss a lot of details. So take my review, my first review, with a grain of salt. Aside from that, I think that's all I want to talk about in this video, but thank you so much for tuning into the second part of Creating Tiny Towners, and I'll catch you in the third episode of this series. Bye! By the way, editing Jade right here. Spider-Man CC list is out right now on my Tumblr. Go check out the links in my description for more information. I know it's a highly requested thing on my channel, so I apologize for the wait. I'm so sorry. But it's out now. If that intrigues you, you know where to look for it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Bye!